Hey everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel, and you have stumbled and fumbled your way into yet another supercut here on the very last day of 2024. If you're new to the podcast and you don't know what in the world a supercut is, it's when we take all of our conversations about a specific show that have taken place over several different podcast episodes and smush them all together into one supercut episode just about that show. And in this episode, we are here to talk to you all about Only Murders in the Building, Season 4. And we kicked off our conversation in episode 79, Raisin as I Live and Breathe. Hey, did we watch any actual TV this week?
We did. Only Murders in the Building, Season 4. And I'm glad it's back.
Oh, me too. This was a breath of fresh air. It was a great opener to the season. In fact, I would say
spectacular.
It was a really good season opener too.
It really was. The trio's back. They kind of the way they set up, because we know what happened with Saz getting shot at the end of season 3, but they kind of like backpedaled a little bit on that and set up the mystery really well. Just the three of them working together. They did go out to Hollywood. We got to meet I thought that was really funny.
They're making it. So the Hollywood is trying to make a movie out of their podcast.
Yeah.
And so they got actors to play the three leads from the show.
They're going to age up Mabel.
Yeah. Because they said it felt weird.
She's like, we're both like the same age. I thought that was funny. Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Who was it? Oh, Schitt's Creek guy.
Oh, yeah. Eugene Levy.
Yep. And it was a great premiere, great episode. Who do you think shot Saz? I still think that his crazy ex that she was hooking up with could come back in the picture.
I don't know. The
woman from The Office.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is it somebody we've already seen on the show? I mean, I think it has to be, right?
Yeah, that's why I think but she could be too obvious.
I think that's too obvious.
But I bet they're going to go through where they're going to probably try to make us think it's her.
I'm going to throw it out there just because this is a wild card. I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm going to throw it out there. I thought it was they'd made the Scott Bakula joke over the course of the previous seasons about how she was doing stunts for him now since Steve Martin's character wasn't acting anymore. Then he shows up in this episode dressed just like her, and I'm like,
do we think Scott Bakula?
I don't know. I probably not.
Where is Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy? Are he and Mabel? They kind of ended on maybe they'd see each other in L.A., right?
Yeah, but
we saw Meryl. She's back.
Doesn't look like they're going to be in L.A. much. So who knows?
Who knows? Are we going to get as good of a song that which of the triplets did?
Oh no, they're not going to go that route. But I am excited for the season. This was very like I said, refreshing. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a 40-minute episode and it felt like 5 minutes.
Do we think Tina Fey is going to show back up again?
I don't know. She kind of just jumped in at the last minute last season, so we'll have to see.
I think that it'll be a lot of suspects as usual, and then we'll figure out who did the whole thing.
I do want to point out before we, it was the opening episode of the season, so there's not a ton to talk about. But when they finally, the way that they teased us about how is with like ends up Saz was they didn't find the body in his apartment because whoever killed her threw her in the incinerator. And so they teased us throughout the episode with how are we gonna, if she's been incinerated, how are we gonna know it was her?
Bones.
And so it ended up that she had metal joints from all the years of stunt work. And I
thought
like
Bulgaria or something.
Yeah. But I thought when that last shot of the episode when Steve Martin's holding the bone, you could see real emotion. Like it was not just the mystery of it, but he was showing emotion that his friend, even though he kind of acted like she was annoying to him, that his friend was gone. And I thought that was a really subtle, good job by Steve Martin. I thought he did a good job.
It was. But I thought the way they never just talk about anything for no reason.
Right.
Like they made it a point to say that she had the best like bone replacements that money could buy and that she was proud of it and everything. And they made it a point to talk about that. So then when it did, obviously that's how they were able to find it in what
incinerator.
Incinerator. So I feel like they're just very much like, what does McGonagall say in Harry Potter? It's always you three.
Yeah.
It's always them stumbling upon. So I'm excited to see where the mystery goes. Again, Only Murders is a show. If they just kept coming up with shenanigans for this trio, just keep giving me more of it all the time, and I'm always going to enjoy
Absolutely.
it.
So, and we continued in episode 80. It's Hot Sauron.
But speaking of other shows on Hulu and I guess Disney Plus now,
it's very confusing.
Watched the second episode of Only Murders in the Building, and I just love this show so much. I just really do. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great show. I think they all, I did see news. They got renewed for season 5.
Yes. I say just spectacular. Give me 14 more. Keep making it. Keep doing it.
As long as the actors all want to do it and they're happy to be there, just keep doing it.
Yeah. So we know that like Jan is out of prison. She parkoured her way out of prison. And she just like shows up, and Steve Martin, what's his character's
Brazos.
Brazos. No, but like, what's his actual name?
Oh, I don't know. Charles.
She shows up in his apartment, like, and at first we're like, is he hallucinating? Because he's been processing like Saz's death, and that, you know, he was likely the intended target,
right,
not her. So Charles is sort of trying to process everything while Mabel and Oliver are off to look for clues. And we get to meet the people across, the people that don't buy at this apartment, but they rent. So we get to meet a whole new cast of characters. And you get to see the way, like, Charles looks at them through the windows, but then the way that they're looking at Charles and everybody. Yeah. And they've also obviously listened to the podcast, and they want to be included. And they're all really weird, and I think that's with intent.
Yeah. Do you think any of them are the murderer?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I don't know. Well, we didn't
get to see one of the people that lived in the building. The ham in the bathroom was weird to me, though.
We didn't meet the Christmas guy either. Like, they didn't meet them.
Yes.
We saw him in the flashing around, but we didn't get to meet them. One thing, they were very weird on purpose.
Yeah.
And,
the pink eye, he's like,
the pink
and he keeps, like, moving his eye, and then, like, he's like, if I'm wearing an eye patch, because I keep getting pink eye, I'm like,
I also liked how they immediately removed Jan from the suspect list.
Yes. Because I think she would have been, like, everybody's first choice. Now, that doesn't mean they won't circle back to it, but she's kind of... we got to see the cops finally showed up, and it was basically like, why is it always you guys again involved in this? Do you have any other, like, ideas who you think? Are you still going with Scott Bakula?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Scott Bakula at this point.
There was something that I asked you. Oh, I know what it is. I don't know if you put it in your notes while we were watching it. Well, Charles is calling 911 to officially report, you know, what's going on, the crime. Because they're trying to figure out, like Oliver and Mabel were wanting him to order like this spray that you can figure out where the body was to pick up blood, and then they're investigating, and they're like, is this like an absolute emergency? And they're like, no, like, you are, you know, number blah 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 in line. And Oliver's like, look at our great city helping us out today, like talking about everybody's problems and emergencies in New York. And it's just like little quips like that, and like little bits of just dry humor that really sell this show to me.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the season. Do we know how many episodes there are? They usually do like 10 to 12 of this show.
I thought there was usually at least 10, so I don't know. I'd have to look it up right now to see. Yeah,
2 episodes in, I just feel like is basically we're not even past the prologue of the season yet. Like, we're just now starting to get, like, the police are involved, and so I'm excited to find out, like, all the different twists and turns they're going to throw us on.
And I think Mabel might be living on the other side of the apartment soon, because she made a comment when they were like sneaking into that one room, like, oh, this could be nice, because right now she doesn't have her place, and she's just been kind of crashing at Oliver's place.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Just keep giving me more seasons. It's so funny. And so far, this season, I'm liking even better than last season, because last season we kind of had them separated as a group a little bit more. And just the 3 of them together in each scene, each week, I just eagerly anticipate more and more.
We sampled some drinks and watched more Only Murders in episode 81, Dirty Soda. Hey, we also watched Only Murders in the Building, episode 3 of season 4. What'd you think of that?
Loved it. We got more of the actors that are going to supposedly play them in the movie.
Yes.
I really just want to see Eugene Levy and Steve Martin have like their own like little
Yeah, that's really
sitcom
good
as well.
That's a really good pairing. They're really funny together, and how Eugene Levy is trying to be like
It's a playoff.
his Brazos character, because I really feel like that's what like they haven't said it in the show, but he's trying to be more like Brazos than he is to be like Charles.
Yeah.
Because that's he has admitted in the show that's was a very formative thing that he watched.
And Zach Galifianakis and Oliver are trying to bond, but
Yeah.
Zach Galifianakis like is really not into it until the Catman comes and defends Oliver and basically talks about all of how Oliver's failed struggles, and then he's like, "Oh, now I want to commit to this role." Eva Longoria was annoying.
Very much so. Yes.
Maybelle, so they talk to the Christmas guy that was obsessed with Christmas, but apparently he hates Christmas.
Yeah.
He's a fitness guy, did a Christmas episode, blew up, and now he feels like he has to make his entire personally year-round Christmas. I love Christmas, but I wouldn't want what part makes Christmas special is that it only comes around once a year. Could you imagine like having Christmas stuff up year-round?
No, I don't like it as much as it is.
Oh, you love it. It won't be long. November.
Don't talk like that.
November is when it kicks off. This is how it goes. Everyone always, no one skips Thanksgiving. I can't stand that people say that. Thanksgiving is a wonderful, amazing holiday day event that falls in the middle of the holiday season, which is November and December. I like my turkey with a side of Christmas lights. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Back to Only Murders. The pink eye thing. I hope that Charles and Eugene Levy don't get pink eye from this.
Oh, they're totally going to.
Because they're trying to figure out, like, if the one guy, like, shot himself in the eye and was making when he shot at Charles and was making the whole story up. So he smacked the crap out of Eugene Levy.
Mess around. They're trying to get him to take his eye patch off so they can see if it's a bruise or if it's actually pink eye. And it was some really good like slapstick comedy and
very good
and situational stuff, and it was very good.
What was the theme song to Perfect Strangers?
Yeah.
Was it because they're listening to the ham radio? Did we get any, like, what was our little, like, sizzler at the end?
I don't remember the sizzler. I feel like the only thing. Oh, no,
the Perfect Strangers song was
Perfect
connecting
Strangers song
everything.
was connecting something, and then they had the ham radio. Somebody's whose voice we don't really recognize was on the ham radio and told him not to be on this frequency, and then it ended. I don't feel like we did any. If anything, this episode was basically eliminating people as suspects. Yeah. Like, you got rid of Eye Patch Guy and we got rid of Christmas Guy as suspects. And so,
are you still going with Scott Bakula?
I'm still going with Scott Bakula until I find something else to give me evidence otherwise.
And
if I'm right, I'm going to shove it in everyone's face because I have it on recording.
I don't think they ever do, like, the celebrity. They try to make us think Sting was in the first season. So,
they did. They had Sting season 1, Amy Schumer season 2.
Yeah, Tina Fey's character.
Tina Fey, they tried to point her out.
Are we going to see her character again?
Probably, she'll show up.
Maybelle. And then we learned about squatters' rights. While we were watching the episode, I was like, what is this? Because, like, the empty room, what we think maybe where they did the shooting from, Mabel decides, like, to Google squatters' rights and that she's just going to move in there. And I guess it's, like, an actual thing. And I'm very confused about it. Are you confused about it?
No, I'm not thinking about it at all.
You're on the other side of it.
I'm on the other side of it.
You know what's a good opening theme song? I talked about the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. The Only Murders.
That's a never skip.
That's a never skip credit.
We need to do a whole episode sometime about never skip theme songs. But Only Murders is definitely a never skip theme song. We walked down the Witch's Road and watched more Only Murders in the Building in episode 82. Okay, well, we go from that to Only Murders in the Building, episode 4, The Stuntman.
Just keep giving me more Only Murders. Spectacular. Give me 14 more. We got to see Paul Rudd. I
loved how they worked Paul Rudd back in, because we had heard at the end of last season that everybody on the show, this is the meta part, loved Paul Rudd, loved him being part of the production, and really wanted to bring him in, but his character died last season.
Yeah.
And the way they brought him in was he's his stuntman. and
like Irish, right?
Got this just over exaggerated Irish accent.
Magically delicious.
It was really excellent. I loved every moment of it.
Well, we were really surprised when we first saw him on screen. Like I figured, I was like, okay, they're gonna work Paul Rudd in with like flashbacks, maybe.
Yeah.
Like similar to what they're doing with Saz and Jane Lynch. And so basically, there's a club for stunt doubles. So
Yeah,
Charles
in New York.
goes, yes, and to try to get more information about people that knew Saz. And then we see Paul Rudd, and we're like, what? And he seemed a little nutty anyway. That like looking out for invisible rats. I don't know what that little shtick. I almost wonder if Paul Rudd was ad-libbing for that part.
Or is there something about that that's going to come back?
Yeah,
you
you
never
never
know
know.
with this show.
A lot of this stuff is connected. I kind of liked the stuntman or like funeral type services that they had.
Yeah.
What else let's see. Mabel, and her squad. She's squatting in the one apartment.
Yes.
No one likes her. We find out why all those people are kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because the guy that's living in the building,
Dudenoff,
that where she's now like squatting, is basically letting them stay at the Arconian for $200 for rent.
So he's rented out all the apartments on. It was unclear whether it was that side of the building or just that
I
floor
thought it was
that
just
they're
that
on.
side or maybe the floor.
And he's letting them all stay for like $200 a
Yeah.
month, which
In
is
New York City.
ridiculous. And he sends them ham, and they just have to keep the secret.
Would you eat bathtub ham?
Oh, a ham from like Portugal that they're eating off of?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's weird. Okay.
That's going to segue into our next show perfectly.
two Portuguese hams is not a lot of Portuguese ham.
And it's the one from Fraser Space.
But it's weird that it's coming up twice in one episode.
Yes.
Yes, I would absolutely have a bite of that hanging in the
I'm
over
not
the
a big
bathtub.
fan of cured ham. When we went to Spain and Portugal, I missed turkey so much. I guess my little dumb brain was like, why can't I get a turkey sandwich? I didn't realize that's like an American thing. I thought turkeys were like everywhere.
Nope, they're native to the United States of
And
America.
it wasn't like it was all that cured ham, which is so sickeningly salty.
Wow.
I couldn't stand it.
Oh,
You
it's
loved
delicious.
it when we
Oh,
went
it's
there.
delicious. Oh my gosh, it was.
No, I did like it when we switched sandwiches. We went to this like bar called I think it was like called Mario's. The best meal I remember of that trip, and I believe we were still in Spain. And you had ordered just the pork sandwich. I had ordered the ham sandwich, thinking it was a ham sandwich. No, it's not. It's a cured ham. So we switched sandwiches, and that pork sandwich is the best sandwich I probably ever had in my entire life.
And that cured ham sandwich was the best sandwich
And it was
I've ever had.
that
in my
bar
entire
was
life.
filthy. You know that's
Oh, yeah.
flavoring. It was perfect.
I'd go back.
A bar called Mario's in Spain with cured ham sandwiches and pork sandwiches. So yeah, I feel like now's the perfect time because we had the perfect segue into it. So anything else you want to say about Only Murders?
No,
before
nothing.
It goes on. Still going with Scott Bakula?
Yep. I have been given no reason not to believe it's Scott Bakula.
Episode 83, On the Other Side of It.
Alrighty. Well, up next from that, we continued watching Only Murders in the Building. Do you
Yes.
remember what episode this is? Is this 5? It's so strange for me to have a show to be in shows like Marvel where we feel lucky and blessed if we get 8 episodes, and then Only Murders in the Building usually pumps out like 10 or 12, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's so many episodes in this show. How can we? You can't even keep it straight in our minds.
We just finished episode 5.
Okay.
So the episode that drops tonight will be episode 6.
All right.
I can look on IMDb
The Internet movie.
and tell you
Database.
how many are planned for season 4.
Watch them be like 8 this season, even though I just gave them the brag.
Let's see here. There are 10
Okay.
episodes.
Sweet.
The final episode will air on October 29th.
Yeah.
Which 10? I mean, like, I'll take 10.
I'll take 10,
I
yeah.
will take 10. I will take 10. So on the most recent episode that we watched, the trio face off against a collection of individuals who deceive, manipulate, and threaten a second nature, a Hollywood cast and crew. So where we had left previously, Molly Shannon's character, she's not playing herself. She held them at gunpoint on
Right.
Sass's property. I don't think she's the murderer. I think she's just crazy.
No, and I also don't think the people they're pointing to by the end of this episode, which is the two directors,
Yeah.
are the murderers either.
Do we think that they're called like the Sister Brothers or something? Do we think that's a riff on the Duffer Brothers?
I think it has to be.
I think so too.
I think it has
the
to
way
be.
like they dress and talk. So they're trying to frame them as the murderers now. Scott Bakula's still leading.
For me, absolutely.
So I feel like we had some revelations in this episode. Not a ton of things though. Oh, you had a note, which you didn't pull up for me. What does that note say? Something about Oliver's character.
I hope I wrote it down. Oh, but he had a roids phase?
Yes. So basically they're trying to like recreate like how somebody could have shot at Charles's apartment, and Charles can't do it. So Oliver's like, well, I'm in very good shape. I can do it. So he puts on like his like little workout clothes that looks like they haven't seen the sun since maybe 1993 or maybe even earlier. And he's like, yeah, I went through, I don't know when he says that, but he's like, yeah, I even went through my roids phase when I took prednisone. I can never pronounce that right. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been prescribed that steroid like multiple times, like when you have like a really bad sinus infection.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they gave me when I had shingles too. So I'm like, and I would always make the joke anytime I was prescribed a steroid, I'd be like, oh, I'm roiding up. So it's just little nuggets of humor like that make me love Only Murders.
Yeah, it's great. It's continuing great. This season's better than last season.
Yes, and it's because the trio is together.
Yes, they learned their lesson. Keep the trio together. They've done it. Paul Rudd's character came back.
Yeah.
Still great. They're trying. They're basically pointing the finger at not just the directors, but like they're suspicious of the entire production now.
Like it was focused on like the writer that apparently thinks
Yeah.
to be a good writer, he needs to apply a fake beard, which was strange. That was just really weird. Do you think there's any chance that Sass is still alive? Or do you think she is dead? Any chance that she could be trying to get... They talked about how she was in pain and she didn't want to be a stunt double anymore. Any chance that she wanted to give Charles this opportunity to solve this case and that she's off, blissfully drinking Mai Tai somewhere on the coast? Any chance? Or do you think she is
No, I
gone?
don't think so. I think from the perspective that they showed us at the end of last season and the things they've shown us so far, that would be... They would have to get really creative to show us how she survived, because they showed us they showed her getting shot and bleeding last season and in flash of this season. So I would have, plus how do you explain like the joints in the incinerator and stuff like that? Now, obviously, you could explain that by she threw them down there and planned it all, obviously. I don't think they were... I would be disappointed if that's the direction they went.
So who was the bullet aiming for? Was it aiming for Charles? That still has not been answered.
I mean, no, it hasn't really been answered, but right now we are in the middle of the season. We're in the middle of throw everything at us and see if we can figure out what it is right now. So I fully expect us to be confused.
I really liked where Charles was walking around with his phone, trying to be discreet and taking pictures, but he didn't have the sound off, so it was like.
They've really for both of the older characters in this show, they have gone hard on.
They just
their
go full
use of
boomer on them.
Yeah, use of technology, and it's been really good.
The only people I know that do that and have that sound on their phone are like older people.
We watched Lord of the Rings and Only Murders in episode 84, One Ship to Doom Them All.
We also watched Only Murders in the Building, episode 6 of season 4.
Yes.
I thought this was an excellent episode, and I know there's probably going to be some people out there that eye roll at me for it. I thought they committed to the bit, and it was great.
It's my favorite episode of the season.
And I loved it.
Best episode of the season. Basically, we find out that the brothers, sisters, whatever. I think they are I really do think they're trying to play off the Duffer Brothers. And it's almost like the movie within the movie. We find out that they've put hidden cameras. Like they had one in Oliver's freezer. We got a reference to Oliver's dips.
Yeah, finally.
I know, finally.
The dips are back.
But even the shaky cam, Daniel like pauses the show. He's like, now. He's like, when it's committing to the bit, I don't mind shaky cam. I wasn't even going to call you out on that, but you were clearly, your defenses were ready.
Well, because you know how often I criticize shaky cam in movies,
Yes.
But in this episode of the show specifically, it was warranted because all the cameras were handheld unless it was one of the spy cams.
Well, we know who Dudenoff is. That was the professor that the girls had, and apparently Eye Patch, Pink Eye Man had also been in that class with them. But Dudenoff, we find out he is dead, correct? And he also has replacement parts like Saz had. Do we think Saz is really, really dead, or do you think she might be faking a death?
I think she's really dead. I think we've got two people now, and we got to figure out why both. What's the connection is what we're looking for.
But were they still after Charles? And was it really Saz? Who was it? Did they know Saz was up there? Is Scott Bakula?
What does Scott Bakula want? What does he want?
He's suspect one. Well, then we have Oliver, who, because Zach Galifianakis, who's playing Oliver, gets shot on the photo shoot. Somebody shot at him. So Oliver's like near-death experience. So he calls up Meryl's character to basically propose, and she's like, But it turns out that was a whole misdirect because she's on like Grey's Anatomy, like burn unit or something. I don't know. I could see that show existing in real life.
I'm sure it
and
does.
She's like all bandaged up. So we assume she heard it. She couldn't talk. I'm like, why is her phone on set? I'm just, I'm not going to ask too many questions. Best episode though. I love when a show commits to the bit like that.
Yeah, it was excellent. I enjoyed, like, at first I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if they were going to do it for like 5 minutes and then go back to the normal stuff. But when they just did the entire episode from different, so like the brother sisters had like their old Super 8 film camera that they were showing, and then they had the spy cams, and then they had regular
the cat guy.
Yeah, he had like just a regular 4K camera that was walking around.
That was the job that they had
so that looked fine. But it was still, handheld, and so the whole time they were just cutting between these different shots. And they had a couple of security cameras as well. I just thought they did a really good job of committing to it, and it was really good.
It was just a fun episode. And episode 7 drops tonight. And just a reminder, there are 10 episodes, and that finale will air October 29th. I'm not ready for it to end, but at least we know we're getting another season after this.
Yes. That's very nice to know. And again, I have to be grateful for a 10 episode.
I know,
it's
these
crazy.
days, that's great.
It's crazy, but you've got to be grateful for 10 episodes these days.
I don't know how music works in episode 85. You should see me in a crowd.
So since we don't have any other show notes, is there a show that you can think of right now? Oh, I just thought of one. Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I thought of another one, but yeah, let's do that.
We took a little tripsies to go see Charles's sister, played by Melissa McCarthy. So I instantly knew when I saw her, I was like, well, this episode's going to be good. Because what did she do? She was like making a cocktail for Oliver, and she took vodka and just poured a glass of vodka and put Crystal Light in it.
Yeah.
So basically, they were just drinking a full glass of vodka.
It's like a regular standard, like, what you would pull out of your cabinet glass, half up with vodka, and then she just dumps a Crystal Light in it and hands it to him.
Sweaty Betty, that's what she called it or something. So I just knew when they were bringing her on, it was going to be a funny episode. And then like somehow the actors show up there because they figured out that whoever is after them has been after them since season 1, potentially. And that they wanted to get away from the city, like don't tell anybody, but then everybody knows like where they are.
Everybody ends up knowing, because Meryl Streep's character ends up showing up at some point, like, and then the producer lady is there, like everybody is there.
Yeah, Molly Shannon's like little speech about actors.
Yeah, that was great.
Have you seen that where they said Selena Gomez like couldn't stop laughing, and you see her character Mabel in the corner like covering her mouth?
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
I think that was Martin Short that plays Oliver that said that like in an interview. He's like, oh, we did this scene, and that was what they were talking about. So that was funny. Are we still leading with Scott Bakula?
Hey, listen, they've not ruled him out as far as I can tell. Like they have not ruled him out.
Episode 86, The Boner Family Reunion.
Well, next up, Only Murders in the Building. And here we've only got 2 episodes left for the season.
And one of those is going to drop tonight. So still not much closer to who the actual murderer is.
No, farther away now, because really they use this episode. This is a classic Only Murders episode. Like 3 episodes left in the season, and this was a classic. All right, we're gonna. As soon as I saw who they were going to try and pin as the murderers, I was like, oh well, they're not the Westies are not the murderers.
The group with Dudenoff, we got to figure out how he passed away.
Yeah.
They explained that basically he must have had some illness, so he asked them to like put his body in the incinerator, which is still very creepy to me. So those people, unless somebody just shows up another red flag, I feel like they kind of said it's not them.
Yeah, it's not them as far as I'm concerned, and the show has eliminated them as contestants in this contest. And I'll be honest, like, they haven't pointed directly, unless I've missed something. There's really not like I don't have a theory beyond Scott Bakula right now, and you know that's a joke theory of mine.
Well, they sort of pointed to the guy that played Paul Rudd's stunt double.
They did at the end of the episode.
We learned that he was Saz's protege, and he was obviously, and we've seen him be kind of crazy, and he's in the hospital right now. But I think that's another classic red flag
Correct.
before the reveal.
Because they'll focus on that this coming episode tonight
Yeah.
and eliminate him by the end, and then it'll be one episode left to figure it all out.
Didn't they talk a little bit too about like Tony Danza?
They made a good
times?
the Tony Danza joke in the episode where
like,
where they set it up
continue to go.
early. They set it up early, and then 15 minutes later they
Yeah.
paid it off. Was a great joke. It was a great joke. I don't remember exactly what the details were, but the setup and the payoff was perfect.
It was good. It was good.
But yeah, they're doing the classic thing to me where every season, the last 3 to 4 episodes is they run through all the people they think it could be, and it's not them, and then they get you with somebody unexpected at the end. So the fact that Paul Rudd's character has been teased as the
Yeah.
problem means he's not.
Yeah. And I still question, like, obviously Saz was the one that was shot, but it's shown that they're after Oliver. Maybe someone will come after Mabel next. And I feel like that shot was still intended for Charles.
Yeah,
Not
I
for
agree.
Saz.
I
So
agree.
I'm excited to see. I feel like in the past, you and I have had more of a clear idea, other than
yeah.
Scott Bakula, who we think it's going to be. So I like that they're keeping us guessing this go around.
If it's Scott Bakula, no one will ever live it down. From me,
I never said you were wrong.
I know.
Do you want us to get you a banner?
Yeah, I'll raise a banner. Season 4, Only Murders champion.
So it'll be like what UCF did that year, where they declared
Yeah,
themselves.
yes, because
national
I
champs.
literally called that episode 1. He was in that episode for what, 5 seconds?
Yes.
And then I on the podcast I said maybe it's Scott Bakula. And you know what? They haven't done on this show? Eliminate him as a potential suspect.
Why would he have been in the building though that night?
Why was he dressed like Saz when they met him in L.A., Hope?
Well, because she was also doing stunt double work for him.
Yeah, but why was he dressed like a character from his show?
I don't know.
Charles doesn't walk around in his Brazos costume.
He's the
See,
suspect
that's the thing.
number one.
Saz walks around dressed up like Brazos, right?
Yes.
Okay. Charles does not,
That's true.
but Scott Bakula was dressed like Brazos. I'm just saying. I think there is a higher than 0 chance it's Scott Bakula. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Christmas started coming early, but not without just more discussion of Only Murders in the Building in episode 87, the donkey budget.
Speaking, though, of other big kind of reveals right before the finale, we had Only Murders in the Building. We've got one more episode that's going to come out on the 29th, and there was some big stuff revealed in this. We know who's been answering Saz's phone. We know who her protege is or was. And it was revealed to be the guy that is the writer for their Only Murders in the Building movie. That he has been, I don't remember his name or what is his actual
But he
name.
wears the fake beard.
He wears the fake beard and the fake glasses because he's really trying to be a writer. And we learn a little bit more about his relationship with Saz. Not a lot, but he said he wanted to be a writer back then when she kind of made him her protege.
He was looking for any reason he could to get on set.
Yes.
And she said, well, I can get you on a set. It's just you're going to have to be a stunt double. And in
Yes.
this specific case, it was on a Ron Howard movie, and they're lighting him on fire.
So he clearly, obviously he is murdering some people because we do know that he killed Paul Rudd's other character, the stunt double, whose
Glenn.
name Glenn. Okay, so he smothered him with a pillow in the hospital. And do we think though that he is the one that killed Saz? Because I'm not so sure on that.
No.
Yeah, no, I think that's your classic kind of red flag. Obviously, he has done murder. He
Yes.
has done wrong. And now Selena Gomez, Mabel, she is in a room alone with him.
Yes.
So we're going to have to address some things there. but I do not think that he is the actual murderer because I do not think that Saz was the intended target. I still believe that it was Charles. We saw when Zach Galifianakis, who was playing Oliver, when he got shot, and it was intended for Oliver. So I think we might have somebody after Mabel next. And Saz was trying to track down, as they said, some of the plot holes from Only Murders in the Building, which they addressed, like who poisoned Oliver's dog.
Things that happened over the course of, I think they've noted season 1.
Yes.
That never got a resolution.
It never got an actual, they kind of just glazed over
Yeah.
it. So I think it's somebody that's been after all of them. Who do you, I mean, are you still going with Scott Bakula? Or who do you think?
He's on my list still, but
He's still a suspect.
he's still suspect. He's still
not ruled
suspect
out.
in my mind. He's not ruled out. Obviously, we know that the writer is a bad guy because he's
Yes.
killed Glenn, but I don't think he is the bad guy that we're looking for in this
Agreed.
specific scenario. So I don't know. I
You
don't.
said the old lady that always kind of yells at them in the building. I don't think it's her.
I do still think there is something to say for their original theory that it has to be 2 people.
Yeah.
Because somebody had to take the shot, but somebody had to
True.
get into Charles's home and move Saz's body out into the incinerator.
I truly hope it's not Howard because they already
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't
had him
want
as a
that to be the
suspect
case.
in the first one, and I just need him to be on there for the laughs. So yeah, maybe that old lady, I would kind of prefer it not be her. I don't even remember her name. We've seen the doorman before. I think that'd be out of pocket. They'd really have to show me what they did. We know Nathan Lane's character is in jail, correct?
Yeah.
And what about his son? Like that because that's who he went to jail for, to cover
We
up
haven't
the
seen him
crime,
since,
right?
what, season 2?
Yeah, I
maybe-
don't think we saw him at all last season. I can't really remember.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Do we think it's any of the Westies, or do you think they're
No, they've ruled the
out?
Westies out. I think I could be somebody in the
Is
building.
Sting still in the building from season 1?
Well, see, this is why I keep going back to Scott Bakula
Yeah.
because they've always had a celebrity that they tried to pin it on
Yeah.
falsely. And so we haven't had that yet this season.
What about Meryl Streep? Do you think she's good? I think she's good.
Yeah, I think she's good.
And
Hey,
then
Jan
Jan.
is still running around out there
Yeah.
somewhere, you know?
I think that'd be
Like,
a cop out though to
I
make
do.
her
I
the
agree.
actual
I agree it would be.
baddie. Do you think that we're gonna know by the end of the season, or because we know we're getting another one? Do you think they might actually cliffhanger us?
I don't
have
think
us
they
not
will.
know?
I
I
think
hope
that they're
not.
going to follow the formula. I think they're going to wrap it up in
Yeah.
this next episode
And then
tie
sizzle
a bow
us.
on it and then sizzle us at the very end with another murder in the building.
Haven't heard much from Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy.
You know, we haven't. He's still kicking around as well. I just think there's something to the fact that Scott Bakula just so happened to be dressed like Saz and
Yes.
at that party where he knew Charles was going to be.
Yes. What about the cop?
I don't think so.
I don't. That would disappoint me.
That would be
Unless they
disappointing.
made it like an awesome reveal.
Yeah.
I'm really excited that like we have less of an I feel like usually you and I kind of figure it out, and I'm liking it that they're stumping us a little bit.
The only thing that I don't
Let's
like
go around. Unless it ends up being Scott
all right.
Bakula.
The only thing I don't like about being stumped at this point in the season is I feel like we're being stumped simply because they've given us nothing.
Yeah, true.
If
true.
now, if we turn around and there've been clues sprinkled through the entire season and we just didn't see them, I'll give them respect. But
Yeah.
right now, I feel like it's just going to be a reveal and then flashbacks, and it's not going to
not actual stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
Like invented flashbacks. Now it would be really cool. Now I would like to say, disclaimer. The Sixth Sense. I did
God.
figure out, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this old movie, I did figure out that Bruce Willis was dead. But that is a movie for most people who do not figure out that when you go back and you watch it a second time, it is so obvious that he's a ghost. You didn't think he was dead, right? It's like one of my greatest accomplishments.
I'm just
figuring out
I'm
Fight
just a
Club.
regular old peon, just like all the rest of us
Okay.
that was surprised at the end, like you're supposed to be on these
That,
things.
and
My
when-
intellect, I don't have a superior intellect
Oh,
like you
okay.
over all the rest of us, and can figure all this stuff out, like the Prestige and all these other
I
things.
did. I figured out the Prestige too. You were mad though when I figured out Fight Club. Like Daniel was like literally mad at me. He was like, "How did you know that?" And I'm like, "Oh, so I'm right." No, I knew it because it was like obvious. Anyway, though, I would love it if they actually did show us footage that we have seen on this series and it's not invented flashbacks, and it would be something like that. I'd be a little disappointed in myself for not picking it up sooner.
And I'll give them real respect if it's not just scenes from this season, but it's scenes from all the seasons, and it really is actually baked in, like plot holes, but not actually.
That would be so cool.
We'll see.
Well, we also got Ron Howard in this episode. Ron.
Yep. Well, so at first they teased us. A couple different times they faked us out, and so we were like, oh, he's not actually going to be in it. But then they're eating at the restaurant, and he pops in,
and he remembered Oliver,
and he remembered Oliver, and so Oliver's thing was actually true.
Hot soup.
And that was really good.
I like the Oliver and Charles moment that
Yeah.
Charles is going to miss his friend. So they're all buddies. So that I just love the relationship between the three characters. Cannot say that enough.
But that's what keeps the show together.
The chemistry.
Like this doesn't have to be a murder show.
Yes.
It could be any other type of genre show. Those three goofing around together, they just have such good chemistry. That's what makes the show.
And that's why I think this season is better than last season, because the group dynamics have been there from start to finish.
Yeah, there was no like Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy distractions for Mabel.
And even though
like
Meryl's been on, like, she hasn't been like the focus.
Yes, exactly.
And we love Meryl. I'd love to see Meryl come back in the next season. And honestly, I want Paul Rudd to show up as a different character now.
Yes, you said that during the next season. He needs to come back as another character.
Agreed.
And we wrapped up our conversation about season 4 of Only Murders in the Building in episode 88, Hot Frosty.
Well, we had another finale that we watched. We watched the season finale of Only Murders in the Building, and we watched this after we got back from our trip, and thankfully I wasn't spoiled. And honestly, if I had been spoiled, I would have been like, yeah. Loved the season as a whole. Loved it. I thought this season as a whole was better than last season because I had the trio together the whole time. The finale, while it wasn't, I wouldn't call it bad, but it wasn't like like their other finales have been with the reveal. Sadly for you, it was not Scott Bakula. He was never mentioned again.
Yeah, he didn't even come up again. What a missed opportunity.
It ended up being the guy that was posing as the writer that really was ultimately the murderer of Saz. And it turns out he had stolen her screenplay, which was going to be about the Only Murders in the Building, about Charles, and that's what she was wanting, I think, to talk to Charles about. So that kind of, like, I always thought that somebody was after Charles. So they did get me there. So it ended up being like he did intend to kill Sass, and he did. I think you kind of were on my wavelength. Like, we always thought that the bullet was intended for Charles, and that there was going to be more to it there. So yeah, the finale for that felt a little flat for me.
It felt real flat. Yes, not just the finale, but also like the tease into season 5.
What was the tease again?
Tia Leone shows up.
Yeah, that's right.
She shows what seems to be unrelated, but then the doorman is dead in the well, or in the fountain in the middle of the courtyard, and it's just like, this season is like the mere opposite of last season, in that everything all the way up to the last episode this season was great, and then it just petered out and dropped the ball.
So you agree with me that this season was better?
Whereas
as a whole
last
than last
season was just like, what are we doing? All the way up until like last 2 episodes, and it was great.
And it was great again. I have confidence that season 5 will be great, because just when those three are together, the trio, I think it's magic on screen. So I'm like, just keep giving them mysteries, keep doing whatever you want with them. But I definitely hope that we can, especially if season 5 does end up being the last season, hopefully we can have a bit more of an exciting finale like what we're used to.
Yeah, it just the tension was just like broken immediately because they revealed the killer was the writer at the end of the seventh episode. I don't know how many episodes they had. And then like the rest of the finale was
the
just
second to last episode.
The rest of the finale was just dealing with that, and there was like there was no mystery in it. There was no, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it was just like, here now we're going to show you how all this came to be, and it's like, okay.
And I didn't really care about that.
And I didn't care. He'd done nothing. He'd never made me given me anything. The other
He's just
villains,
Looney Tunes.
other villains throughout the murderers, I won't even say villains, other murderers throughout the seasons prior have given, you felt something about him. And this guy, I didn't feel anything for him.
Yeah. As a whole, though, still, I would still put this show in my, like, you know, conversation for best thing going, because finale aside, like, you can have, like, let's circle back to The Boys of the summer. The season of The Boys was kind of lacking, but then their finale was insane.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if I were to choose, I'd rather have a consistently good show, unless you have a horrible, awful series finale and then you ruin your show forever beyond compare, like How I Met Your Mother. But that's a whole other topic. But anything else you want to say about Only Murders before I get into another finale that made me mad?
No, I was a little disappointed by the finale. I thought maybe there would be one last. I was kind of hoping for one last.
You wanted
twist.
the Scott Bakula
I did. I
reveal.
really wanted it to be Scott Bakula, and I just don't think that I should have been robbed of my victory.
They should have at least mentioned him again, because the way he was dressed. I can see that. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.